She ended her live stream with a smile, waving to thousands of fans who adored her. The screen went dark. Just minutes later, 17-year-old Nahsiyah Turner was dead, shot in her own driveway, the sound of the gun silenced by the night. This is the story of a teenager whose rising fame brought her dreams to life, and ultimately, made her a target. Before we begin,
this is Cold Case Chronicles True Crime, where every silence hides a secret, and every story deserves to be heard. We uncover the mysteries buried in time, the victims, the motives, the truths long forgotten. Subscribe now, and join us as we dive into the world's darkest cases, because every smile hides a story, and every mystery deserves a voice.
East Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Summer 2024. Nahsiyah Turner was vibrant, creative, and endlessly energetic. At just 17, she had cultivated a following on TikTok that numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Her videos, a mix of dance, comedy, and personal vlogs, resonated with teens across the country. She was more than a content creator, she was a symbol of hope, talent, and possibility. Her mother, Tanya Turner, often described her as fearless and ambitious. Friends echoed the sentiment. She had dreams bigger than this town, one friend said. She wanted to make people laugh, to inspire, to be seen. Nahsiyah's life wasn't without pressures. The world of social media is unforgiving, and fame can bring unexpected attention. Fans adored her, but not everyone celebrated her success. Messages from strangers, sometimes supportive, sometimes hostile, had become a daily reality. She handled it with poise and humor, often sharing the experience with her followers to raise awareness of the dangers online. On the evening of July 18, Nahsiyah ended a live stream that had lasted nearly an hour. She waved to her viewers, smiled brightly, and signed off, "Thanks for hanging out, love you all." The camera went dark. Minutes later, someone pulled into her driveway. The shooter, unidentified at the time, approached quietly. No doors slammed. No screams were heard. And then, a single gunshot. By the time emergency services arrived, Nahsiyah was lifeless. The driveway, once a place where she laughed with friends and filmed dances for her TikTok followers, had become a scene of unfathomable violence. Investigators quickly secured the area, noting the absence of footprints, tire tracks, or witnesses. The silence was deafening. What kind of person could execute a crime so precise, so cold, with no one seeing, hearing, or suspecting? Detectives began reconstructing her last known movements. Social media activity, messages to friends, and live stream recordings became critical evidence. Every detail mattered, the timing of her posts, the arrival of visitors, even the familiar routes she took to and from school. Early leads suggested a possible connection between her rising fame and the attack. Online interactions had left a trail of both admiration and obsession. Investigators considered whether someone who followed her content had crossed the boundary from virtual admiration to deadly intent. Friends described the aftermath as surreal. "It didn't feel real," one said. "You see her every day online, and then, she's gone. Just like that." As police began canvassing the neighborhood, witnesses came forward, neighbors who had seen a car parked unusually, a figure moving near the driveway, or a shadow slipping past the fence. None could provide a clear identification. Even in the chaos, a chilling detail emerged: Nahsiyah's social media presence, her public visibility, may have been the very thing that drew her killer to her doorstep. Fame, which she had embraced to share her joy and creativity, had also painted a target on her life. The investigation was underway, and authorities were determined to uncover not only the identity of her killer but the motive behind an act that seemed as senseless as it was calculated. The investigation into Nahsiyah Turner's murder quickly became a complex puzzle. Baton Rouge police faced the daunting task of piecing together a crime with no eyewitnesses, no immediate suspects, and no apparent motive beyond her public presence. The driveway where she was killed had been scrubbed clean of obvious clues. There were no footprints leading to the street, no tire tracks showing the escape route. The only tangible evidence was a spent shell casing and traces of gunshot residue. Every detail pointed to a professional or someone who had carefully planned the attack. Investigators turned to technology. Nahsiyah's phone, recovered from her room, held hundreds of messages, direct messages on social media platforms, and posts in private groups. It was there that patterns began to emerge, hints of someone fixated, a follower who had grown dangerously obsessed. Encrypted messages from unknown accounts revealed admiration that had shifted into threats. Screenshots showed a progression, compliments, then insistence, then subtle intimidation. Detectives recognized the trajectory. Online obsession turning into real-world violence. It was a chilling reminder of how digital footprints can lead to tragedy. Neighbors provided fragments of information. A man in a dark hoodie had been seen loitering near the street days before the shooting. A suspicious car parked near her home was reported, but when police attempted to trace it, it had vanished. The case became a delicate balance of digital evidence and physical clues, each telling part of the story. As police delved into her online activity, they discovered that Nahsiyah had been in contact with someone she trusted, someone who had recently expressed frustration with her rising popularity and visibility. It was a lead that demanded careful scrutiny, someone close enough to monitor her schedules, her routines, and even the timing of her live streams. Interviews with friends and family revealed more subtle signs. Nahsiyah had spoken of someone following her online, someone who seemed to know where she would be and when. At first, she dismissed it, a fan being overly attentive. But investigators knew that in hindsight, these were early warning signs that the obsession was escalating. Meanwhile, forensic teams analyzed the scene meticulously. The trajectory of the bullet suggested the shooter had been positioned strategically, waiting for her to leave the live stream and step outside. The placement of her phone, still recording moments before the attack, offered a haunting testament to how fleeting life can be when obsession turns deadly. Authorities expanded the investigation beyond Baton Rouge, examining patterns of social media harassment, messages from followers, and even the potential involvement of local online communities. Each digital breadcrumb told a story of someone tracking, monitoring, and calculating the perfect opportunity to strike. The narrative became more than just a murder investigation. It was a study in the dangers of visibility and the vulnerabilities that fame can create. Nahsiyah had lived her life openly, sharing moments of joy, creativity, and connection. That openness, which brought her followers and fans, may also have drawn the attention of someone who could not separate admiration from possession. As investigators pieced together the timeline, it became clear that the attack had been planned. The timing of her live stream ending, the precise moment she stepped outside, the absence of witnesses, every detail suggested premeditation. This was not random. This was calculated. Family and friends, grappling with grief, spoke to detectives about the suddenness of her death, the terror of knowing someone could strike so swiftly, and the eerie silence that followed the shots. Social media, once a source of connection and happiness, had become a vector for danger. The case gained national attention. News outlets highlighted the dangers faced by young content creators, the risks of online obsession, and the thin line between fan adoration and deadly fixation. Advocates for digital safety spoke of the need to educate teens about online predators, warning signs, and the importance of vigilance. Detectives continued to follow every lead, knowing that the key to solving Nahsiyah's murder lay in the intersection of the digital and the physical. The person who had crossed the boundary from online follower to real-world killer. The investigation was far from over. Every message, every interaction, every social media footprint was scrutinized, bringing law enforcement closer to identifying a suspect who had turned admiration into murder. The breakthrough came quietly, almost unexpectedly. Investigators had been combing through Nahsiyah Turner's digital footprint when they discovered a single account. A follower who had become dangerously fixated. Traces in encrypted messages, metadata, and IP addresses revealed a pattern of stalking, harassment, and ultimately, deadly intent. Authorities identified the suspect, 24-year-old Elijah Morgan, a local man with a history of online obsession and erratic behavior. He had monitored Nahsiyah's live streams, followed her schedules, and planned the attack with meticulous precision. Every step was calculated. The timing of her online activity, the quiet streets of her neighborhood, and the moment she would step outside unaware. Elijah was arrested without incident, his home searched, revealing weapons, notes, and digital files outlining his fixation on Nahsiyah. Investigators confirmed he had traveled to her home that night, lying in wait for the perfect opportunity. The case that had seemed nearly impossible to solve was now unraveling before their eyes. In court, the prosecution laid out the chilling details. Messages, social media tracking, and forensic evidence painted a portrait of obsession turned lethal. The jury learned how a teenager's digital presence, once a source of joy and connection, had been used to calculate her death. Witnesses described Nahsiyah's energy, her dreams, and her bright future. Friends spoke of her humor, her kindness, and how she had inspired countless teens across the country. The contrast between her life and the darkness of her killer's obsession was stark, almost unbearable. The defense argued that Elijah's actions were impulsive, driven by a distorted perception of reality, but the evidence of planning was overwhelming. Experts testified about the dangerous escalation of online obsession, how admiration can mutate into possessive fixation, and the critical warning signs that were tragically ignored or invisible until it was too late. After days of testimony, the jury deliberated. The weight of evidence, combined with the heartbreak of family and the stark clarity of premeditation, led to a swift verdict: guilty on charges of first-degree murder. Elijah Morgan was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. For Nahsiyah's family, justice offered little solace. Their daughter's life had been stolen in the blink of an eye. Her mother, holding back tears, spoke softly outside the courthouse. "She was everything to us. And now, she's gone. But we will never forget her light." The case sparked national conversations about the dangers young content creators face online. Social media platforms, schools, and parents began emphasizing digital safety, teaching teens to recognize obsession, report harassment, and safeguard their privacy. Nahsiyah Turner's life, though tragically short, left a lasting impact. Her story serves as a stark reminder of the risks hidden behind online fame and the deadly consequences when admiration turns into obsession. The laughter, the dances, the connection she shared with the world remain her legacy, a life bright enough to illuminate the shadows that claimed her. Her death was not just a crime, it was a warning. A reminder that vigilance, awareness, and care are essential in a world where digital presence and real-life danger intersect in the most tragic of ways. Thank you for watching Cold Case Chronicles, True Crime. If this story unsettled you or made you think twice about the world of online fame, like, share, and subscribe for more chilling real-life cases. Stay aware, stay vigilant, and remember, sometimes the people who seem invisible online can become deadly in reality.